the source for most of what we know of the mitzvot, of the obligations of Hanukkah, comes from the Talmud. Of course, Hanukkah itself doesn't happen until after the time of the Torah, well after the time of the Torah, and after the time of the Hebrew Bible itself. So we know it from the Talmud, which teaches, famously as far as Talmudic things could be famous, Tanu Rabbanan ner Chanukah mitzvah ner al petach beto mivachutz, that it's a mitzvah to place the Hanukkah lamp out at the entrance to one's home on the outside, because part of the idea is that people should be able to see this. If you live, sort of like upstairs, if you're on the second floor or whatever, put it in the window, facing the public space. And then the very next words are, and in a time of danger, put it on the table. And that's sufficient. So we've been kindling Hanukkah lights for a long time now. And it turns out that when it comes to Hanukkah, there is nothing new under the sun, outside of the fact that now, we can put our sort of electric menorahs, Chanukiahs, in the window. A menorah generally has 6 branches. A Chanukiah, the special kind that we use for Hanukkah, 8. In advertisements, they always seem to have all 8 lids. It's always the 8th night in advertisements, so I want to give a shout out to the 6th night. That foundational text, when we say you should light a Chanukiah and put it in the window, then the very next words are, what if you don't feel safe putting it in the window? What if you live in a time or a place where you don't feel so comfortable publicly proclaiming your Judaism this way? It means that this is a mitzvah that was already tied up with fear of bigotry from the start. So what do we learn from this? I think it's the admittedly old knowledge that Jews have long lived in places where the hatred of at least some of our neighbors was no secret. Putting the Chanukiah in the window is a mitzvah, and knowing that Jews aren't always safe to show themselves is something worth knowing when doing this mitzvah. That this recalls Jews who stood up and fought rather than hiding themselves is an irony that we all can be aware of. The Maccabees' enemies seem to claim that all good people agreed with them, and asserting Jewishness was unreasonable and backward. And truth be told, the Maccabees themselves weren't such saints. Their perfect heroes are hard to come by in the real world. This year, as we light together and apart, in public and in private, we should recommit to the best of our ancestors' ideals, live proud Jewish lives, act in a moral way, never abandon either the need to either defend the well-being of our fellow Jews and also ensure that our heart breaks for all those who are unfairly caught up in the horribleness of war. Of course, I'm thinking of the tragedy of the civilians of Gaza, cynically and cruelly held as human shields by Hamas, whose rejection of a ceasefire brought on that war. Hanukkah, of course, is tied up in wars in the Holy Land, and it's a festival of lights, when Jews pause to think of whether or not it's safe to be publicly Jewish. The more things change. Shabbat Shalom. Happy Hanukkah.